Woke up just because I heard something and it turned out to be the pitter patter of the rain. It's raining outside. And I thought, you know, this is a good idea to do that follow up video blog that I was thinking about on Sunday after it was revealed that Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, actually made a follow up comment that would seem confusing. He said that there is no imminent move to Las Vegas. And the way I read that is simply this: it's not certain like death and taxes at this point, but because Oakland is so slow, Las Vegas is going to pursue an opportunity with a greater degree in Las Vegas with a greater degree of focus and intent. And that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody because Oakland City Administrator Ed Reskin on the 20th of September delivered an update that was really anything but and was extremely disappointing to a great many people. Ed, really, the 20th was supposed to be the date the Oakland City Council voted on the development agreement, but as was revealed in court documents related to the environmental impact report lawsuit, the reason why when was a factor that was considered not, for want of a better term, adequately dealt with in EIR was because, among other things, there were no complete drawings to determine the exact height of the ballpark structure. Okay? When I first read that, what went through my mind was, you know what, the city council vote on a development agreement because they don't have the drawings to form a contract around what they expect to be built. You cannot, you should not, if you are a person who knows what you're doing with respect to representing a city in economic development, put your city in a position where it is voting on a concept as opposed to actual construction drawings that will be built to, in this instance, bring the athletics home in Oakland called Howard Terminal Ballpark to life. Okay? So when that didn't happen, and when Ed Reskin gave a speech that delivered zero credibility, certainty, and capacity that Oakland could get the job done, that spelled, along with the fact that Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf was termed out, that the A's need to look at Las Vegas, otherwise they're going to be stuck in Oakland for some time, literally waiting for Godot. That's the problem, okay? Unfortunately, and I've seen this again and again and again with Oakland, people in Oakland who are, and I don't know if it's our DNA. I'm not going to say I don't know if. I'm 60 years old. I've been in Oakland since April 8th of 74. I've been involved in Oakland politics for 37 years. I've seen enough to tell me that it's in our DNA with respect to sports and economic development to not believe that one of our beloved teams is going to just up and leave. That is the problem. And it's that mentality that stops us from making the necessary plans to build a facility for those organizations ahead of time. In other words, ahead of the time they actually need them. The athletics are past time of need, way past. Any A's fan knows that. So here comes Las Vegas, and yes, the Oakland Raiders gave the Athletics a path to consider. On top of that, on the flip side of it, Las Vegas has a sports oriented economic development strategy. They see the value in today's internet and sports gambling culture of having as many sports events in Las Vegas as possible, and for a very good reason. You and I now can gamble online, and that has, to a significant degree, impacted Las Vegas. Now, you would say, wait a minute, they've set gambling revenue records. Yes, yes. But in terms of what they can get potential as their total potential, okay, it's still less because of the impact of the internet, even though it is record levels. I'm talking about gambling. Hence, the pursuit of sports. Las Vegas doesn't want to become the next Reno. If you've ever been to Reno, you know, let me put it more pointedly, if you've ever been to Reno up to the year 2015, you know, and repeated times, you know how Reno has been impacted by the decline of gambling as an activity there. Okay? But Reno comparatively is a ghost town today with respect to how it looked in 2009. And you say, why do I pick 2009? Because I have YouTube videos from visiting Reno at that time. And before then, it was once a bustling, hopping, gambling city, much like its larger relative, Las Vegas. So there has been a gigantic push, starting with the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee under then Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval in 2015 to today, to get sports organizations to be in Las Vegas. Look at how it's progressed. NHL hockey, NFL football. Now we're talking about the NBA, and former Raider executive Mark Bedane is involved in that, as well as here comes Formula One next year. And of course, we're looking at Major League Baseball. All right. By contrast, Oakland does not have such a strategy. And what is holding up Howard Terminal is, first of all, that Oakland is now over 2.5 years late in establishing its public financing authority that would float the plans, okay, to build the stadium as expressed by its infrastructure financing plan, and then establish the enhanced infrastructure financing district and the Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority Board with its executive director. These actions, if done, would ensure the post-Libby Shaft certainty that Howard Terminal would get done. Right now, that is not in place. Understand? And the good news is that the city of Oakland could establish that rapidly tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, not in one day, but starting tomorrow with emergency city council action. That's doable from a legislative perspective. It's already started its meeting with Alameda County as a taxing agency, but it needs to move forward and also then establish the enhanced infrastructure financing district zone so that the new Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority can begin to collect property tax revenue ahead of the time that we're ready to put shovel in the ground and build, so that we're able to make up for the fact that the initial tax increment financing cone, assuming a $2 billion base year assessed value, which should be the target, okay? I'm not saying the ballpark is going to cost that much, but it should be the target. At 4% rate of growth brings in its first year $800,000. But if you keep the base year for yourself by saying to each of the taxing agencies, hey, we'd like to use your base year monies and negotiate with them to build specific projects for them, you can change that from $800,000 year one to $20 million year one, okay? Excuse me, not $800,000 year one to, with that growth, $21.8 million for year one. The base is 20 million that you're collecting as a tax agency that they have that right to. That doesn't get used by redevelopment unless you negotiate. Now, for those who say you can't do that by law, there's nothing in the law that says you cannot negotiate to do that. And you know what? Look. If bond counsel is telling you otherwise, then have bond counsel with the city's lobbyists go to Sacramento and seek an adjustment in enhanced infrastructure financing district law that allows for such negotiations. I don't see where anyone would object to that, because you're talking about 55 acres of land that's producing this tax increment financing revenue throw-off. You're not talking about the whole city. It's not going to stop the school district from getting its money, anywhere else in the city. It's 55 acres, folks. Okay? So rather than, here's where our collective Oakland lack of know-how is showing. Rather than say, well, we can't do that, you know what? Fashion a way to make it certain that we can. But that underscores the point. Because Jerry killed redevelopment. Jerry Brown, our former mayor of Oakland, former California governor in the 70s, specifically 78. Then again later, California governor, before that attorney general, now retired, and heading the Bureau of Atomic Sciences, killed redevelopment in 2011. Before he did that, Oakland had an infrastructure of people who knew how to establish redevelopment areas to collect tax increment financing revenue. They knew about bond issues related to TIF and so on. But Oakland has literally gotten rid of that. It's not familiar with it. It hasn't used it. It hasn't used the son of redevelopment, SB 628 Beal, which was signed into law by Governor Brown in 2015. It hasn't used even the law that it created for Howard Terminal, SB 293 Skinner. It hasn't used AB 464 Mullen, which allows taxing and financing revenue to be used to fashion projects that get money to businesses in Oakland that have suffered, and other cities in California, from the pandemic. Oakland has been content, literally, to sit on its hands and do nothing. The only person that has listened to me on this matter, that has any say in anything, was Oakland Athletics president Dave Cowell. That's how we got SB 293 Skinner by Nancy Skinner, California state senator. But I digress. My point is that Oakland, let me put it this way. You can lose the knowledge of making something by not keeping up the practice of making something. You can literally let that technology die. And for all practical purposes, Oakland has let redevelopment technology die. The technology of making money via the creation of tax increment financing revenue collection districts, we call enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation. All right. And though it's not industrial financing, it's not IFD. California doesn't call it that. California calls it enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation. It is completely different than what some other city does, because most other cities really don't call it that. And the vast majority of cities and states in the United States have some form of tax increment financing legislation on the books. New York has it, for example. California is different because it allows the municipality to increase the base year assessed value by 2%, whereas in New York, say, for example, it's 6%. At any rate, my point is that California killed its version for some time, for 4 years. And then it took time for the new version, and it's taking time for the new version to really catch hold. Redevelopment in California was such that cities were using it like you and I were drinking water. Not so this time. And because of what Jerry Brown did, and in Oakland parlance, you couple that with ranked choice voting and strong mayor, and we have had a situation where an economic development head in Oakland, like Fred Blackwell, would seek employment someplace else, like Fred becoming the now very successful CEO of the San Francisco Foundation. Fred Blackwell was the head of redevelopment up until 2014, when his boss, Oakland Mayor Gene Kwan, tried to run for re-election and lost to Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. And really didn't significantly fight to keep redevelopment. As far as I'm concerned, Mayor Kwan should have just basically offered herself up to go to jail if Jerry had done it. She didn't do that. So all of that leads us to the situation we've been in for the past 2.5 years, where the city has spent an inordinate amount of time on community meetings rather than saying, okay, we met a year. Laundry says, hey, Zinni, what are you doing up this early? I have to work. What is your excuse? I'm working. Anyway. And you can't really be working much because you tuned in to send me a comment. So you're obviously listening to the news, and I'm delivering it. Now, simple fact of the matter is that we're behind the 8 ball because of that lack of knowledge. Meanwhile, as I explained a year ago in November, that the A's would eventually move to the Las Vegas Festival grounds. And that 33-acre plot of land next to Circus Circus is owned by Treasure Island owner Phil Ruffin. Dave Cobble has met with Phil Ruffin many times, including most recently, roughly 3.5 months ago, twice. And also many other times, I'm venturing a hypothesis after that that we don't know about. Okay. Also, folks, the Nevada legislature does not meet and has not met this year. So when the legislature kicks in on February 2nd of 2023, then you will see the consideration of legislation to get some form of public participation, a bond issue, to help the A's build their ballpark. I'm not saying it will pass, but right now, we haven't even had the election, folks. And the Nevada legislature would be significantly changed, will be significantly changed after the election. We could retain a good Democrat, Steve Sisolak. If you're in Las Vegas, I encourage you to vote for him. Or we could get sheriff and Republican, who would be former sheriff, his former sheriff, Joe Lombardo. I don't care what anyone tells you. If they tell you that's not important, they have no idea what they're talking about. It's very important. And it's very important to the matter of building a ballpark in Las Vegas. So the runway toward groundbreaking in Las Vegas is shorter considerably than in Oakland. And given the fact that Mayor Schaff is termed out, and as I said earlier in this video blog, that there's no Howard Terminal Stadium Authority, that there's no organizational certainty that Howard Terminal will be done, because that's how you do it. Because of that fact, and also I think the constant barrage of lawsuits. Major League Baseball took a look at this, and in the form of its commissioner said, you know, the Athletics are going to pursue a home in Las Vegas because of the pace in Oakland. That's what he said. And to repeat myself, our problem as a city is we always don't take such comments seriously. It's not going to happen. Oh, he does this all the time. See, that's not the point. The point is we don't have the proper economic development organizational apparatus to assure the delivery of large-scale public-private partnership developments, okay? Our projects are done in a piecemeal fashion, and that shouldn't be. We had the Oakland Redevelopment Agency. Its very existence guaranteed the delivery of tax and financing revenue to be used for the construction of affordable housing. Oakland had one of the largest affordable housing budgets in the country on an annual basis. When Jerry killed redevelopment, he killed that. It has been slow going bringing it back. So the clock has always been ticking, folks. And so now the focus should be on what Las Vegas is going to do next. But I'm saying to you, we have to wait until after the election. I thought the Oakland Athletics were going to release drawings about now. We haven't seen any drawings to indicate what a ballpark in Las Vegas would really look like from what the A's want. Now, Dave Cobble has told me that such an image exists, or so I think I should more pointedly say such imagery exists. What we got to do is we got to get somebody in there, or maybe we can reprogram Dave Cobble's eye so that we can see what the drawing looks like through his eyes, right? The question is, how do we do that? I'm kidding, folks, partially. Anyway, I felt it necessary to flesh out what that meant, because I woke up to the pitter-patter of the raindrops and I thought, hey, I'll get a little work done. Boom. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. Oh, and by the way, on an entirely unrelated subject, there is an old saying that find something you like that you do and you'll never work a day in your life. Okay? Musia says the biggest difference in these two cities, the city workers in Las Vegas actually do their jobs today and hear something. At least I have to say one thing. I've got to go and do some comment moderation here because the comments have nothing to do with the project. Folks, don't be afraid to ask questions because you don't understand what I'm saying. All right? You don't know what tax security financing is? Ask. You don't know anything about a development agreement? Ask. Okay? You all get on here and you make these pronouncements about things to cover up the fact that you don't want to learn anything. And I'm just being critical of society right now. Learn things. Okay? And if you want to learn more about this project and development, economics, and process, subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark. Oh, now I've got 5 people. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. If you're just joining us, let me give you a recap. So I was about to go, but let me give you a recap. What I was talking about in a nutshell is saying that the city of Oakland is not ready to build Howard Terminal. Because of that, the Athletics are seeking a home in Las Vegas. And on top of that, because the city of Oakland does not have an organization devoted and directed to completing the Howard Terminal project, like, for example, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, which would be called, in the Oakland case, the Howard Terminal Stadium Authority, there is no certainty that Oakland will do anything. That's the fact, Jack. Then I began to discuss how we got to this position, the fact that we are over 2.5 years now behind schedule. You would say, where did I come determine that? Good question. For those of you who asked, Howard Terminal is legislatively fueled in part by the passage of SB 293 Skinner. What's SB Senate Bill, California Senate Bill 293 Skinner? Who's Skinner? California State Senator Nancy Skinner. Signed into law by California Governor Gavin Newsom, October 11th of 2019. When that was signed into law, what should have happened is then, that 2019 year, the city should have done more than take a ratifying vote of that legislation, which it did do. The city's economic development minders should have began their meetings with the County of Alameda, BART, AC Transit, the school district, and the EV Mud Flood Control District to just say, hey, look, you are now all the taxing agencies with respect to our 55-acre plot of land. Let us get your permission to collect property tax from that area and have it be gathered by something called the Howard Terminal Public Financing Authority. And because we have a plan that we're going to reimburse the athletics for their planned $350 million in infrastructure spending, and because if we target a $2 billion base year assessed value level at 4% rate of growth over a 45-year period, we expect to see $1.6 billion in total tax increment financing revenue, which will take 50% and use that around which form a bond issue to both pay the athletics, but also use, okay? Use, okay? Use, okay? Use, okay? Use for community benefits, all right? Hey, Bleacher Dave, I actually went to the council website, and I didn't see what I was looking for. I didn't see enhanced infrastructure financing district legislation to be used for anything. So I was looking for the staff report. I'll look again, but I didn't see it. I didn't see it. So you might want to check that out again because it might have been pulled, okay? I mean, the way I look at it is if I go to the city council website at oaklandca.gov and I type EIFD in the search, I expect to see that. Or if I type enhanced, I expect that to pop up. It didn't. I'll look again and again. I didn't see that at all. Because I know you said that before, but I haven't seen it on the agenda. I didn't see it in rules. Okay? I didn't see it there. So if this is something that you expect to happen, I really suggest you go about the work of making sure it's going to happen rather than being disappointed. Okay. So there you go. All right. It's 33 minutes, 11 seconds. And you know what? I now know why I heard the pitter patter on the window. I got my work done, and I'm going to make my second live stream video, which means I have to close out this one to do that. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. I'll see ya.